The Universal Tribunal was the highest authority in the galaxy, and its rules governed the entire cosmos. The tribunal wasn't just a court. It was a council of the most advanced civilizations, tasked with preserving order across the stars. Every race, species, and planet followed its laws, whether it was the way energy worked, how physics behaved, or how galaxies formed. These laws were sacred. They were unquestionable. But now, something had gone terribly wrong. Humanity, a species from a small, distant planet called Earth, had broken those laws, or at least, that's what everyone thought. The tribunal's chamber was massive, a room filled with towering figures and floating holograms. Beams of light moved through the space like threads of knowledge. Representatives of hundreds of species sat in silence, their glowing eyes fixed on the central platform. At the front of the room, the Supreme Judge, an alien so ancient that its body barely resembled anything biological, rose from its throne. It addressed the assembly in a calm, echoing voice. The case before us is unprecedented. Humanity stands accused of violating the fundamental laws of physics. We must determine whether this recklessness will be allowed to continue, or if it must be stopped before it causes greater damage to the structure of reality itself. On Earth, scientists and engineers had been puzzling over strange phenomena for years, things that shouldn't be happening. Machines that ran on less energy than they consumed, ships that could leap from one place to another faster than light. Technology that didn't fit the expected rules of the universe. But humans didn't understand why their inventions worked the way they did. They didn't know how to explain it. They just made it work. It wasn't long before these anomalies caught the attention of the Universal Tribunal. How could such an unrefined, chaotic species like humanity break the laws of physics? The Tribunal's representatives, beings of pure intellect, needed answers, and humanity didn't have them. Earth's representative, Dr. Lena Carter, stood before the tribunal. She was a simple woman by their standards, with only basic training in astrophysics, but she was humanity's best chance. In her hands, she held a small tablet, on which she had carefully prepared a defense. She looked out at the tribunal, the silent figures who were all watching her with eyes that glowed like the stars themselves. Their gaze was piercing, but Lena stood firm. "We didn't break anything," she began, her voice steady. "We don't understand all the rules, but that doesn't mean we can't make things work. Our inventions may seem impossible, but they are built on trial and error, not perfect equations." The Supreme Judge's voice echoed again, this time with a hint of suspicion. "Trial and error. Is this your defense? Are you claiming your species simply stumbles upon these violations?" Lena took a deep breath, her heart racing. She knew the tribunal didn't understand. It was like trying to explain color to someone who had never seen it. "Yes," she said, "we do stumble. A lot. But every time we fail, we learn something new. We take risks because we believe anything is possible. We don't always follow the path laid out for us. And sometimes, that leads us to discoveries no one thought could exist." Her words seemed to fall flat in the air. The alien judges remained unmoved, their faces a mask of indifference. To them, there was only logic, only order. Humans, in their eyes, were nothing more than chaos. A representative from the Velcorians, a race of giant beings made entirely of energy, leaned forward. "Your species defies predictability. It is a threat to the stability of the universe. You do not follow our laws. You rewrite them. How can this be allowed? How can something that breaks the very foundation of reality be considered acceptable?" Lena thought for a moment. She had anticipated this question. The tribunal had no tolerance for unpredictability, but humanity didn't work that way. They didn't have the luxury of absolute certainty. "We don't break the laws. We test them," Lena said, her voice firm now. "We ask questions others don't dare ask. We do what no one else would think to try, because we believe that even if the universe says no, we can still find a way. Humanity is built on the belief that the impossible is just something we haven't figured out yet. A murmur passed through the tribunal. The Valkorian representative frowned, but Lena saw something change in its eyes. Maybe it was doubt. Maybe it was curiosity. The Supreme Judge remained silent for a long moment, its ancient mind processing everything. Finally, it spoke. "The evidence is clear," the judge said slowly. "Humanity has shattered the boundaries of our scientific understanding. But whether this is a gift or a curse, we cannot yet decide." Lena swallowed, bracing herself for what would come next. She knew the tribunal's decision would shape humanity's future forever. Would they be allowed to continue their unpredictable journey, or would the universe's laws be forced upon them? The fate of humanity was about to be sealed. The courtroom was silent as the Supreme Judge's voice echoed, leaving the galaxy's greatest minds to consider the unprecedented actions of humanity. They had never encountered a species that seemed to exist outside of the laws of physics. This was no simple error. Humanity wasn't just breaking the rules, they were creating their own. The trial had begun with the facts. Evidence was presented in a cold, orderly fashion. The tribunal had gathered countless examples of humanity's strange, unexplainable phenomena. And with each one, the case against humanity grew stronger. A large holographic display flickered to life, showcasing the first incident, the Harmonix reactor. This was a piece of technology built by humans that violated one of the most basic laws of energy. It was supposed to be impossible. A machine designed to produce more energy than it consumed. Such a device would violate the second law of thermodynamics, a law that even the most advanced civilizations in the galaxy adhered to. But somehow, humanity had made it work. The prosecutor, a creature from the insectoid Thryclans, stood at the center of the room, its many eyes flashing with disdain. It was known for its ability to pick apart logic and reason, and it wasted no time. "This device," the Thryclan spoke, its voice harsh, "produces energy that should not exist. Energy cannot be created from nothing. It violates our most sacred laws." Lena Carter, humanity's representative, stood silently as the display continued to show the reactor's impossible output. She knew the tribunal wasn't interested in her words. They were interested in proof. Proof that humanity's technology could somehow escape the bounds of universal law. The Thryclan continued, "We have observed this device for several years. Not once has it been explained by standard science. It cannot possibly function, yet it does. That is a danger to all of us." Lena felt her stomach twist. She knew this was just the beginning. They were only scratching the surface of humanity's impossible inventions. The Thryclan's voice grew more forceful as the display switched to a different example, the Lightyear skip drive, a human invention that allowed a spacecraft to travel across vast distances in an instant, faster than light itself. It worked by harnessing the power of quantum entanglement in a way that defied everything the galaxy's most brilliant minds had concluded about the speed of light. How can we allow a species to possess the ability to bend time and space? The Thryclan asked, its many limbs twitching with frustration. To defy one of the most fundamental constants of the universe. A murmur passed through the tribunal. Even the most experienced races, those that had existed for eons, were troubled by this. They had spent millennia perfecting their understanding of the cosmos, and here was humanity, breaking all the rules without any real explanation. Lena could feel the tension in the room building. The tribunal wasn't just concerned about humanity's technology. They were concerned about the unknown. And unknowns were dangerous. If humanity could break the rules, what else could they do? The prosecutor's voice cut through her thoughts. Then there is the matter of the uncertainty principle. It is a fundamental rule of quantum physics. No information can be known with absolute certainty at the same time. Yet, humans seem to violate this principle every day. They make decisions without perfect information, and somehow, it works. Lena's heart skipped a beat. This was something that had always puzzled even the smartest minds on Earth. Humans didn't rely on perfect data or always follow the rules of probability. Instead, they acted on instinct. They made decisions in the face of uncertainty, relying on intuition rather than calculations. And somehow, it worked. The prosecutor paused, letting the weight of the argument sink in. There is another example. A human pilot, during a battle, was able to predict the enemy's movements before they happened. They could anticipate actions in a way that should have been impossible, given the technology available at the time. Lena's mind flashed to the stories of Captain Jake Evans, one of Earth's finest pilots. Against all odds, Captain Evans had led humanity's forces to victory, outmaneuvering alien ships with a strange combination of courage and unpredictability. No one knew how he did it. There was no scientific explanation for his decisions. Lena raised her hand, signaling for the opportunity to speak. The Supreme Judge turned toward her, its many eyes studying her with intensity. Lena spoke calmly, but her voice was full of resolve. You are right about the evidence. Humanity has created technologies that baffle even our brightest minds. But that's the point. We don't have all the answers, but we never stop trying. We may not follow the rules you've set, but that doesn't mean we're a threat. We are just learning. The room fell into silence. Lena's words hung in the air, but the tribunal wasn't ready to accept them. The case against humanity was strong, and the evidence seemed undeniable. But humanity's greatest strength wasn't in following the rules. It was in the ability to break free of them and ask, what if? As Lena stood there, facing the galaxy's most powerful beings, she knew the trial was far from over. And whatever decision was made, humanity's fate would rest on the belief that anything was possible, even the impossible. Lena stood before the tribunal, the weight of the galaxy's judgment heavy on her shoulders. The silence in the grand chamber was suffocating, and the eyes of countless beings that had witnessed the rise and fall of stars, were all fixed on her. It felt as though the entire universe was waiting for her to explain why humanity had broken the rules. But what could she say? How could she explain the unexplainable? For centuries, humanity had tried to understand the universe with logic, with equations, with strict principles. But somewhere along the way, something had changed. Humans stopped just following the rules. Instead, they began to bend them. And now, standing in front of the tribunal, Lena realized that the hardest part of their defense wasn't explaining how it worked. It was trying to make the galaxy understand why it worked at all. She cleared her throat, her voice steady as she addressed the tribunal. We don't claim to have all the answers, she said, her gaze sweeping over the sea of alien faces. In fact, we're still figuring things out. But the truth is, we don't see the universe the way you do. We don't start with the belief that things can't be done. We start with the belief that anything is possible. There was a pause. The room was filled with skepticism, and Lena could feel the weight of their judgment pressing down on her. It wasn't enough to just make a statement. The tribunal wanted proof, and humanity's approach to science was messy, full of trial and error. She gestured to the display in front of her, which still showed the Harmonix reactor and the Lightyear skip drive, technologies that should have been impossible. You've seen the examples. You've seen our technology. It shouldn't work. The laws of physics say it can't, but it does, and not because we're special or different, but because we don't just accept what we're told. We question it, we challenge it, and when we fail, we try again. A sharp voice interrupted her. It came from the Seraphim, a race known for their beauty and precision, their wings shimmering with pure energy. They spoke with a tone that was both polite and mocking. So what you're saying is, you don't follow the laws of science. You just try things and hope they work. The Seraphim's voice was smooth, but there was a hidden scorn in the words. Lena frowned. No, what I'm saying is that we don't assume the rules are set in stone. We take risks. We experiment. And sometimes it leads us to discoveries that you might call impossible. But for us, it's simply part of the process. The Seraphim's wings fluttered impatiently. You cannot expect to be taken seriously with such reckless behavior. You claim your technology works, but your method is flawed. You defy logic. You do not understand the consequences of your actions." Lena could feel her hands trembling, but she forced herself to stand tall. The room was filled with experts from every corner of the galaxy, experts who had followed the rules for eons. And here she was, a single human, telling them that maybe those rules were just suggestions. "We don't always understand how things work," Lena continued. "That's true. But we don't let that stop us. Sometimes the only way to learn is to push the boundaries, to see what happens when you don't follow the rules exactly. And even when we fail, we learn from it. We make better decisions next time." The Supreme Judge, an ancient and wise being that had lived for millennia, finally spoke. Its voice was like the sound of the stars themselves, deep and resonant. "You claim to learn from failure," the judge said, "but what you fail to understand is that your impulsiveness threatens the balance of the universe. The galaxy has existed for eons, carefully ordered. There are reasons why certain laws cannot be broken. Your species, with its recklessness, could bring about a chaos that none of us can predict." Lena took a deep breath, holding the weight of the judge's words. But she wasn't ready to back down. She had seen humanity's spirit, their ability to adapt, to overcome, and to find a way even in the face of the unknown. It wasn't recklessness, it was hope. "We don't just do things for the sake of doing them," Lena said, her voice gaining strength. "We do them because we believe in possibility. We believe that the impossible can become real if we work hard enough for it, if we dream big enough. And most of all, we believe that no matter what happens, we never stop trying." The chamber was quiet once again. Lena's words hung in the air, unanswered. The tribunal's members exchanged glances, clearly troubled. For the first time, it seemed they didn't have all the answers. The idea that a species could create without fully understanding the rules of the universe, it was a foreign concept to them. Finally, the Supreme Judge spoke again, its voice softer this time. "Your words are unsettling," the judge said, "but you still have not answered the most important question. How do you explain the impossibility of your inventions? How do you explain that something so unpredictable works?" Lena smiled slightly, the corners of her lips curling up. "Maybe that's the point," she said. "Maybe we're not meant to understand everything. Maybe the universe isn't just about rules and calculations. Maybe it's about exploring what could be, even when it doesn't make sense. Because when you stop exploring, that's when you stop learning." And with that, the tribunal was forced to consider a possibility they had never imagined, that humanity's greatest strength wasn't in its knowledge, but in its willingness to wonder. The tribunal hall was a place of deep thought, where the fate of civilizations was often decided with one word, one judgment. The silence that followed Lena's last words was unlike any she had ever experienced. The alien representatives, beings of knowledge and wisdom, were deep in contemplation. They were trying to understand something they had never considered before, the value of impossibility. Lena stood still, her heart racing, as the Supreme Judge took its time to speak. The air felt thick, like the weight of 1,000 thoughts was pressing against her. The Supreme Judge had lived longer than any being in the room, perhaps longer than the stars themselves. It had seen civilizations rise and fall, watched the birth of galaxies, and witnessed the passing of time in ways that even the greatest minds couldn't fathom. And now, it was considering humanity. A species so young, so chaotic, and yet, in its own way, so full of potential. Finally, the judge's voice broke the silence. "You claim that humanity does not accept limits, that you push the boundaries of what is known, and that you succeed where others fail. But your methods, your approach, they are a danger to all of us. We have seen the damage caused by breaking the rules of the universe. You may not understand the consequences of your actions, but we do." Lena felt the weight of the judge's words, but she wasn't ready to give up. She had come too far, and humanity had fought too hard to let the galaxy dismiss them without understanding. She took a deep breath, preparing her response. "We do understand consequences," Lena said firmly. "We understand that every action has a result, that every choice we make matters. But we also understand that the fear of failure shouldn't stop us from trying. We may not always get it right, but not trying at all would be the real failure." The room stirred at her words. The idea that not trying, not exploring, was a greater failure than breaking the rules of physics itself was a concept foreign to most of the tribunal. They had built their civilizations on stability, on knowledge, on certainty. But humanity had built its future on something different. Hope. The judge, after a long pause, spoke again. "Hope is a dangerous thing. Hope has led to wars, to chaos, to civilizations crumbling. What if your hope leads you to destroy everything around you?" Lena looked around the vast chamber, her eyes meeting the glowing orbs of the tribunal members. "What if it leads us to something better?" she asked. "What if breaking the rules isn't the problem, but the fear of trying is?" The Supreme Judge's eyes narrowed, studying her closely. "You suggest that the rules should be rewritten, that the foundation of the universe should be altered." Lena hesitated, then nodded. "Not rewritten, just questioned. Maybe the rules aren't as fixed as you believe. Maybe there's more to the universe than what's been written in the ancient texts. Humanity's strength lies in our willingness to challenge the limits. We don't always have the answers, but we never stop searching." A voice from the back of the room spoke up. It was the representative from the Rokari, a species that had existed for billions of years. Their thoughts were vast, their knowledge deep. "And what if you are wrong?" the Rokarian asked. "What if your endless search leads to catastrophe? What if you push too far and unravel everything?" Lena swallowed. The weight of the question hung heavy in the air. It was a fear that humanity had considered, one that often kept them up at night. The fear of discovering something so powerful, so uncontrollable, that it could destroy them all. But they couldn't live in fear. They couldn't stop asking questions just because the answers might be dangerous. "If we're wrong," Lena began, her voice steady, "then we will face the consequences. But the alternative is worse. If we never try, if we never push the boundaries of what's possible, then we'll never know what we could become. We may be small, but we are not afraid of the unknown. And we will keep moving forward, no matter the risk." The tribunal was silent again, but this time, the silence felt different. It was not the silence of judgment, but the silence of contemplation. For the first time, the beings of the tribunal were questioning their own beliefs. Was the universe really as fixed and unchangeable as they had thought? Or was there something more to it? Something that only humanity, with its boundless curiosity and unwavering hope, could uncover? The Supreme Judge's voice broke the silence once again. "Your words have stirred something within us," it said, its tone softer now. "But stirring something is not the same as understanding it. Humanity's boldness has brought us to the edge of something unknown. But this boldness could either be your salvation or your doom." Lena didn't know what the Supreme Judge meant by that. No one did. The tribunal was on the verge of making a decision. But what would it be? Would they allow humanity to continue its path of uncertainty, or would they condemn them for challenging the very laws of the universe? Lena knew one thing for sure. Humanity would never stop searching. No matter what the tribunal decided, they would keep questioning, keep pushing forward, and keep believing that even in the face of uncertainty, there was always a way forward, because that's what humanity had always done. And that's what they always would. The tribunal hall felt colder now. It was as if the room itself was holding its breath, waiting for something, anything, to break the tension. Lena could feel it deep in her chest, the weight of the universe's judgment pressing on her. The galaxy's greatest minds had heard her words, but they had not yet decided whether they could accept them. Could they really let humanity continue its path of unpredictability, or would they crush it before it had a chance to grow? The Supreme Judge turned its many eyes toward Lena. There was a flicker of something there, something that she couldn't quite place. Was it doubt? Curiosity? It was the first sign of vulnerability the tribunal had shown since the trial had begun. "You speak of hope," the Supreme Judge said slowly, its voice echoing through the chamber. "But what if your hope leads to something worse than failure? What if your search for answers brings an end to everything?" Lena stood firm, even though the question stung. She had heard it before, the fear that humanity's boldness could undo the very fabric of the universe. It was a fear that had haunted them for generations, and it was something they could never fully escape. But she had seen enough to know that fear could not stop progress. Humanity had always faced fear, and yet they had pushed forward. "If we are to be afraid of every unknown," Lena said, "then we will never learn, never grow. We'll be stuck in the past, clinging to the safety of what we already know. But nothing new happens in the safety of the known. Everything new comes from the unknown, from the things we haven't discovered yet. We may not have all the answers, but we won't stop looking for them." The silence in the room was thick, but Lena's words seemed to hang in the air, stirring something within the tribunal. She could see it in their eyes, a spark of something. Was it hope? Or was it something more dangerous? The answer wasn't clear, but for the first time in the trial, the tribunal was listening. A representative from the Clanthari, a race of hyper-intelligent beings known for their strict adherence to logic, spoke up. Their skin shimmered with a faint glowing hue as they considered Lena's words. "You say that humanity's strength is in your willingness to challenge what is known," the Clanthari began. "But what happens when that willingness becomes reckless? What happens when you do not have the knowledge to back up your actions? What happens when you break something that cannot be repaired?" Lena met the Clanthari's gaze. "We have made mistakes, yes," she admitted. "But we don't make them out of carelessness. We make them because we learn from them. Every failure is an opportunity to get better, to be more careful, and to understand the universe in ways we never could before." A deep murmur rippled through the room. The beings of the tribunal had heard this before, but there was something different about the way Lena said it. It was as if her words had opened a door to something new, something they hadn't considered before. A belief that failure wasn't the end, but just another step in the process of learning. Lena continued, her voice growing more confident. "We have never been a species to stop trying. Yes, we make mistakes. Yes, we challenge the rules. But every time we challenge them, we get closer to understanding them. And every time we understand, we change the world around us for the better." The Supreme Judge's many eyes locked on Lena. The room fell silent again, but this time it was a different kind of silence. It wasn't the silence of judgment. It was the silence of contemplation. For the first time, the tribunal was rethinking their beliefs. Was humanity really a danger to the universe, or was it simply a species that had found a new way of understanding the universe's rules? After a long pause, the Supreme Judge spoke, its voice softer now, almost hesitant. "What you say, it is compelling, but it is still so unsettling. You speak of breaking rules, of challenging the unknown. But what if the unknown is too dangerous to be touched?" Lena's heart pounded. This was the moment. She could feel the shift, the change in the air. The tribunal wasn't dismissing humanity anymore. They were considering the possibility that there was something valuable in humanity's unpredictable, bold approach. "We don't know everything," Lena said quietly. "We may never know everything. But that's the point. We can't be afraid of what we don't know. We can't be afraid of the future, because the future belongs to those who are willing to explore it." The Supreme Judge stared at her for a long time. It was as though the vastness of time and space had come to a standstill in that single moment. Then, slowly, it nodded. "Your words have stirred something in me," the judge said, its voice now thoughtful. "Perhaps there is more to your species than we have understood. Perhaps your strength is in your willingness to embrace the unknown, to hope when others would despair." Lena couldn't believe what she was hearing. It was subtle, but it was there. The tribunal was beginning to see humanity not as a threat, but as a species with the potential to change the very nature of the universe. But the trial was far from over. There were still questions, still doubts, still fears. Would humanity's recklessness lead them into darkness, or would it lead them to a new understanding of the cosmos? One thing was certain: the future of humanity was in their own hands, and with each passing moment, they were getting closer to proving that the impossible was never really impossible at all. The air in the tribunal hall was thick with anticipation. The beings that filled the vast chamber were no longer just passive observers. They were active participants in the unfolding drama. Lena had done what she thought was impossible. She had made them question their own beliefs, their own fears. Now, they were at a crossroads. The future of humanity hung in the balance, and the decision that was about to be made would echo through the universe for ages to come. The Supreme Judge's voice broke the silence once more. "You have given us much to consider, Lena of Earth. Your words, your actions, have caused a ripple in the very fabric of our understanding. But you must know, this decision is not ours alone to make. The fate of your species will be decided by all of us." Lena's heart raced. She had expected this. The tribunal had always been a collective, and the decision would be made together, not by a single being. But the weight of the coming decision felt heavy, heavier than anything she had ever experienced before. Hope was fragile, and yet it had grown stronger with each passing word. She had opened their eyes, but the future was still uncertain. The chamber grew quiet again, and this time, it wasn't uncomfortable. It was a quiet born of respect, of contemplation. The representatives from the many different species of the galaxy had listened, really listened, to what she had said. They had seen humanity's strength, its refusal to accept limitations, and its courage to face the unknown. But they had also seen its recklessness, its tendency to push too far, too fast, without fully understanding the consequences. In the end, it wasn't the strength of humanity's technology that would decide the verdict. It was the strength of its spirit, the strength to face fear, to keep moving forward, and to hope when everything else seemed lost. Finally, the representative from the Cora, a species known for their deep connection to the natural balance of the universe, stood. Their presence was calm, almost serene, and their voice carried a sense of quiet wisdom. "Lena of Earth," the Cora spoke, their tone measured. "We have seen what humanity has done. We have seen the risks you take, the ways you defy the laws of physics, the ways you reach for the stars. And yet, we also see the potential for great growth. Perhaps the greatest strength of humanity is not in your ability to break the rules, but in your ability to adapt, to learn, to change, to grow stronger with each challenge." Lena nodded, understanding what the Cora meant. Humanity didn't just push boundaries. It learned from every failure, every mistake. Each challenge was a chance to evolve, to get better, to understand the universe in new ways. And that was the essence of progress. "We believe," the Cora continued, "that humanity's journey is one that must be supported, not feared. Yes, you are unpredictable, and yes, you are sometimes reckless, but that is what makes you so valuable. You will not be held back by what has come before, and that is a rare gift. You are a species of explorers, of dreamers, and we believe that you should be allowed to continue on your path." A ripple of agreement moved through the chamber. Other representatives, too, began to speak, one by one. The Xerali, a species of ancient scholars, voiced their belief in humanity's ability to innovate, to create the unimaginable. The Zephyrians, known for their swift adaptability, spoke of the importance of change and how humanity was constantly evolving, never stagnant. Finally, the Supreme Judge rose, its vast form towering over the room. Its many eyes flickered with ancient wisdom, yet there was something new in them, something unexpected, something akin to hope. "The voices of the galaxy have spoken," the Supreme Judge said, its voice reverberating through the chamber. "We have heard your plea, Lena of Earth. We have heard your species' desire to push forward, to embrace the unknown, and to explore. And we have decided, humanity will not be denied." Lena felt a surge of emotion flood through her. The weight of the past few hours, the tension, the fear, all seemed to melt away. The tribunal had reached a decision, not just to allow humanity to continue its journey, but to support it, to stand alongside them as they ventured into the uncharted territories of the universe. The future, the Supreme Judge continued, is not always clear. It is filled with risks, filled with uncertainty. But it is also filled with possibility, and it is possibility that will guide you. Humanity has earned its place among the stars. You will be given the chance to continue your path. You will be supported, and you will be watched. But more importantly, you will be free to choose your own destiny. Lena felt tears welling up in her eyes. This was it. Humanity's future was no longer a question. It was a certainty. They were free to explore, to create, to push the boundaries of what was possible without fear of retribution. They would be allowed to continue their quest for knowledge, to discover new wonders and new dangers, and to bring their dreams to life. The tribunal had seen humanity for what it truly was, not a threat, but a species of hope, of courage, and of boundless potential. And with that, the chamber erupted in a quiet but resounding approval. The galaxy had made its decision. The universe was about to be changed forever, and humanity would lead the way. The decision had been made, and the universe was not the same. Lena stood in the center of the tribunal hall, surrounded by the beings from across the galaxy. They had just declared their judgment, and the weight of their words still hung in the air. Humanity, the species that had once been dismissed as too small, too unpredictable, now had a place among the stars. But Lena knew that this was just the beginning. The galaxy had given humanity a chance, but the real work was still ahead. Humanity had to prove that the tribunal had made the right choice. They had to show that their spirit, their curiosity, their hope, was enough to push them forward and to lead the universe into a new era of exploration. Lena took a deep breath, stepping out of the hall and into the bright, vast space beyond. She had come a long way from Earth, and yet it still felt like the journey was only starting. There was so much more to discover, so many more challenges to face. But for the first time, she didn't feel afraid. She felt excited. The unknown was no longer something to fear, it was something to embrace. As she walked through the halls of the tribunal's homeworld, the voices of the galaxy's representatives continued to echo in her mind. Their words had been clear. Humanity was allowed to continue, but it was up to them to prove that they deserved it. The universe was a vast and unpredictable place, and the risks were great, but the potential, the possibilities, were even greater. The future of humanity was now in their own hands, and the one thing that had gotten them this far, the one thing that had made them stand out among the stars, was their unwavering belief that nothing was impossible. They would continue to push the boundaries of what was known, to challenge the limits, and to dream of what could be. Lena stood in front of a large window, looking out at the stars. The galaxy stretched out before her, a sea of distant lights. Each one was a reminder of the wonders that awaited. Each one was a reminder of the potential that humanity had to unlock. The road ahead wouldn't be easy. There would be obstacles, setbacks, and failures. But that was part of the journey. Every mistake, every misstep, would lead them closer to the truth. Every failure would become a stepping stone to success. That was the heart of humanity, to never give up, no matter how difficult the path seemed. As she gazed at the stars, Lena thought of Earth. She thought of the people who had fought for this moment, who had dreamed of a future where humanity could stand alongside the greatest civilizations of the galaxy. They had made it possible. They had dared to hope, to push, to believe in a future that others couldn't see. Lena knew that she would never be alone on this journey. Humanity would face the unknown together. They would discover new worlds, meet new species, and unlock secrets that had been hidden for eons. And through it all, they would remain true to who they were, dreamers, explorers, and believers. The tribunal had granted them freedom, but now it was up to humanity to make the most of it. They had been given the chance to rewrite their destiny, to shape the future. And Lena knew that this was what it all came down to: choice. Humanity could choose to let fear control them, to stay within the safety of what was known, or they could choose to embrace the unknown, to take risks, and to reach for the stars. Lena turned away from the window, her heart swelling with a sense of purpose. The galaxy was open to humanity, and it was time to take the first steps. The possibilities were endless, and every step they took would be a new chapter in a story that was still being written. As she walked back to the council chambers, Lena felt a deep sense of pride. Humanity had made it this far, not because they had the most advanced technology or the greatest knowledge. They had made it because of something that no other species could match: their spirit, their hope, and their unshakable belief that they could achieve the impossible. The stars were waiting. The universe was waiting, and humanity was ready. They were ready to write their own story.